And peace to everybody. I am what you need. You're watching my channel right now. We're doing the stream. Uh, and we are looking at the topic, as you can see here. Timothy Bradley feels that Shakur Stevenson should face Javante Tank Davis next. This is what we're going to talk about. I'm what you need. You're watching my channel. If you like what you're seeing, don't forget you can subscribe to my channel, but as well, you can also donate to my channel, and you can donate via PayPal. The link is in the chat section. All right, let's go into it. How I do things is I usually start off with a piece of scripture. So we'll go into a piece of scripture and then we'll just roll into it. And you guys, of course, can contribute to this by what you want to say in the chat. This time you can't roll in here as a guest because I have it on YouTube. I'm running it from YouTube. All right, the scripture today is going to come from the book of Matthew. It's Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 to 35. It's a story about the unforgiving servant. So Peter came to Jesus and said, "Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? No," Jesus replied, 70 times 7. For this reason, the kingdom of heaven shall be compared to a king who decided to bring his accounts up to date with his servants. Hold on one second. That should do the trick. All right. Yeah. To bring his accounts up to date with the servants who had borrowed money from him. In the process, one of his debtors was brought in who owed him millions of dollars. Couldn't pay, so the king ordered that he and his wife and his children and everything he had be sold to pay the debt. But the men fell down before the king and begged him, "Oh, sir, be patient with me. I'll pay it all." Then the king was filled with pity for him, and he released him and forgave his debt. But when the man left the king, he went to a fellow servant who owed him money, a few $1,000s. He grabbed him by the throat and demanded instant payment. His fellow servant fell down before him and begged him for a little more time. "Be patient and I will pay," he pleaded. But his creditor wouldn't wait. He had the man arrested and jailed until the debt could be paid in full. When some of the other servants saw this, they were very upset. And they went to the king and told him what happened. Then the king called in the man that he had forgiven and said, "You evil servant, I forgave you of that tremendous debt because you pleaded with me. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had mercy on you?" Then the angry king sent the man to prison until he paid every single penny. That is what my heavenly Father will do to you if you refuse to forgive your brothers and sisters in your heart. I said I was going to speak on Israel and Palestine, so that's why I'm here. And let's get it going. Israel never had a place to stay since 70 AD. Were kicked out of their country. Their country was destroyed by the Romans. More than 2,000 years later, about almost 2,000 years later, they got to go back to their homeland after being kicked out of Germany, killed off. They went back to Palestine. Through the grace of America and certain parts of Europe, they were allowed to go back to Palestine. When they got to Palestine, they started living in harmony with the Arabs that exist there. Palestine was a bustling place. It wasn't just desert. It had cities and stuff. There were Jews also in Palestine. Some of them, even though their country was destroyed, uh, some of them stayed amongst the Palestinians. After they resided in Palestine, they wanted to form a country. They didn't consult with the people in Palestine. They didn't ask for permission to do it. They just worked with Britain, formed a state. Britain and they divided up Palestine how they wanted it. And, well, not exactly how they wanted it. And when it was brought to the Arabs through the United Nations, they rejected it because they were like, we weren't part of the process in dividing this place. Who are these people? Why would they just, you came here, you were living among us, and now you want a piece of. And so they rejected it. And it started a civil war first between the Arabs and the Jews. And then later, it resulted in an all-out regional war where the United Nations took over the charter. Britain left after it made its mess, dividing the people of the area that were living relatively well amongst each other. They divided them. What happened was when the Jews came through into Palestine, they started to create businesses, and these businesses sort of affected how the Arabs, some of them, they took some of the Arab jobs, but besides that, also the Arabs started protesting because they weren't getting paid like, they should have. The British were robbing them neck, right, and center. So they protested, and as they protested, the British brought in the Jews to replace them. And so built a little bit of distrust and discord between them, and they started having this row. And then after that, the British decided with the Jews to partition the land a certain way so they could live separately. And that caused even a bigger row because the Arabs weren't included in the whole discussion. And then on top of that, the United Nations picked up where Britain had messed up, and it left a void because the arbitrator was Britain, and then there was nobody running things. And the United Nations decided to partition without having an efficient government there, and agreement among the Arabs. See, the Arabs and the Israelis should have been allowed to elect a government together. They should have figured out how they were going to do this. And Palestine should have had one leadership elected by everybody having a fair vote and democratically elected. That's how it should have been. But no, they decided to partition the place. This was a bilateral agreement without the tripartite. All shareholders were not involved. All important parties weren't involved in the decision-making process of how Palestine should have been dealt with. It should have been dealt with as one nation. Jews are there, Arabs are there, everybody come together and they elect a government. That's how it should have been done. That was not how it was done. They decided to partition it. That probably was a Jews' suggestion because they wanted a nation. And both Great Britain and the United Nations obliged. What they didn't know was what Israel would do next. So they had a war, a civil war first, and then it became a regional war because there was nobody arbitrating. The United Nations did this partition design, which the Jews accepted, and of course the Arabs in Palestine didn't accept. They started a civil war inside of there. Israel did take over quite a lot of territory because their military, they were backed by the U.S. was backing them, Britain was backing them in a sort of way. Even though Britain withdrew itself, they were funding them. Let's put it that way, giving them weapons. And so they had more superior weapons to the Palestinians, so they were overthrowing them. And then they had more superior weapons to the Arab nations that were surrounding. Jordan had gotten its independence. Egypt had gotten its independence. So they joined in. Syria, I can't remember Syria had its independence, but they were trying to attack them to basically subdue them so they could get back their land. They're the endemic peoples, right? And Israel's able to take quite a decent chunk of the place. And that led to another war in 1967. But here's the thing. After they won the battle, after they won the war, they started kicking out the Palestinians that were there and replacing them with people who they would, like, say you have Jews in Egypt or Britain or Europe or America. They were inviting all Jews to come, and if the Jews didn't want to come, they would actually sabotage them in their own country and say, hey, you're not safe. The Mossad would do that and make them come into Israel because they wanted to fill up the gaps. See, the problem here was they were kicking out the same, just as how other nations were kicking them out. Now they were doing the exact same thing that the other nations were doing to them. Right? Now they get a place. You just live in harmony with the people there. You can multiply your population. You can do your thing. Oh, so that is what Israel's built upon. And to this day, they're still ethnic cleansing that place. The people who, it was, I think, 700,000 or close to 1,000,000 people were removed from their land, and they were kicked out of Israel, and they couldn't come back. Israel, to this day, you can't, if you are Palestinian, maybe a descendant of Palestinian that had land there, you can't go back into Palestine. So that's what they did. And that's the same thing that was done to them that they're doing. Why I do the unforgiving servant is because I think of Israel as servants of God, the chosen people. I think of them kind of like that, you know. You think of Israel, you think of Jerusalem and all these things. But what we don't understand, and a lot of us didn't understand for a long time, was that it wasn't just about Israel. It was about Israel and Palestine, that there were people there and Israel displaced them, even renamed settlements and stuff, and built houses over the place, or took the people's houses and their possessions. And you would say, well, to the winner comes the spoils. No, we have international law now. It's different. You know what I mean? Maybe back in the ancient times you could do that, but not now. And so I think that Israel has mistreated the Palestinians. They've treated them so badly. They have this little strip called the Gaza Strip that they live on, and they have these little like prison settlements in what's called the West Bank. And they kind of hold them hostage there. They can't leave the West Bank. They can't leave the Gaza Strip. They monitor everything that goes in. They say it's because of terrorism. Terrorism. Treating the people like if they're animals in a pen. Treating them like they're in a concentration camp, like how you were treated. So I just never got that. And that's why I did the parable of the unforgiving servant, because if there's something called the golden rule, even if you're not religious, do to other people what you would like them to do to you. Would Israel like people to put them back in a concentration camp? Would Israel like people to kick them out their country or kick them out of Israel? Would they like the Arabs to just gang up on them and kick them out of Israel? Then they'll cry anti-Semites and anti-Semitic and blah, 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 blah. But you forgot Abraham had other children. And some of them that you're doing wrong to are Semites. They're Semites too. Some of them, I'm not saying all of them. I know the Philistines didn't come from Abraham, but some of the people living amongst in Palestine are Semites, and you kick them out. Not every Palestinian came from what we call the Philistines, which came from Japheth, right? No, some of them came from Shem, and they live among the Philistines. So all I'm saying is, if you don't like it to be done to you, don't do it to another person. And why is the first option always violence? Is it because it's a man thing? I mean, I'm in boxing. I love violence, but violence in terms of sport, in terms of fairness, in terms of fair rules. You know? So I wanted to share that with you guys before I go into what Timothy Bradley said. Timothy Bradley said some of the craziest stuff I ever heard. Like, Timothy Bradley said that Tank will get exposed. He also said Shakur should face Tank next. I don't think he thinks. I think he just kind of blurts out stuff. You know what I mean? Because honestly, don't forget to smash the like button. Because honestly, After that performance, he should face Tank next. How much money that's going to make? Why would people look forward to that fight? You have to build excitement. You have to have a great performance for people to think, oh man, Shakur is unbeatable. He'd be a threat to Tank. Don't feel that after that fight. I told you I scored the fight. It was a draw. And Timothy Bradley said another thing that I just don't understand how he could say these things. And I'll show you the facts, just so you know. Timothy Bradley said Tank has not faced anybody on the level of Edwin De Los Santos. I mean, Edwin De Los Santos is a skilled fighter. Nobody's saying no. I never said that. He impressed me. But he's not on the level of a world champion with multiple championship experiences like Leo Santa Cruz. He doesn't have experience. In fact, that was his first 12 rounder. He never fought 12 rounds. So for Timothy Bradley to just say these things, I don't understand this. Is this man thinking before he speaks? I'm just asking. I'm not trying to, but he says some really outlandish stuff, even when he's commenting on the fight, which is a close fight. He says some really, like, what is ESPN paying you to say some crazy? Are you that biased about Shakur? Come on, man. Think about what you say before you say it, Timothy Bradley. I just don't understand some of this. Listen. Hector Garcia. I'm just going to mention them 2 or 3. Hector Garcia is a fighter that Tank Davis fought. Very good fighter. Not saying Hector Garcia wasn't doing his thing against Tank, but I'm just saying Hector Garcia is a very good fighter. All right? And everybody knows that. And he beat Roger Gutierrez to become the world champion. He beat Chris Colbert. So another one of those names in boxing, right? Edwin De Los Santos has never been a world champion. He doesn't know what it is to experience that. Okay? He doesn't know it. He has no experience. He didn't even fight. He's facing Shakur. He's never fought a 12-rounder. How can you say that, Timothy Bradley? How can you say that? Help me understand. Help me understand. That's just one. Here's another. I'm not saying that Edwin De Los Santos is not a skilled fighter. I'm not saying his IQ is not great. But you cannot take a guy who has not gone through all the process to become a world champion and elevate him above other guys who've been world champions multiple times. You just don't do that. Boxing's a doing sport. What did I tell y'all? I told y'all I can't put Shakur in the top 3 in boxing because he didn't do nothing. Didn't I tell y'all that? Then I said this. I said Shakur Stevenson. I said, I don't see him beating Devin Haney. And I don't see him beating Tank. And I explained that Devin Haney has that experience at the top level. Shakur's best fighter that he has faced to date is Oscar Valdez. Because it's not just about skill and intellect, it's about experience as well. And Edwin De Los Santos, this is the first time he is getting an opportunity to be a world champion. There's something about your confidence. It's something about going through that procedure. So my expectation was that Shakur would have some difficulty in the beginning, but then he would adjust and separate himself from Edwin De Los Santos, which never happened in that fight. It did not happen. Okay, Edwin De Los Santos is a contender. That's all he is. That's all he is. And he wasn't even a number 1 or number 2 contender. And yes, the other guys didn't face Shakur, Frank Martin. But the point is, Edwin De Los Santos hasn't done much in the sport of boxing yet. Okay? Not like Shakur. Shakur has way more experience than Edwin. So I expected his experience to turn over as skilled as Edwin De Los Santos was. That's why I thought Shakur would win. And he scraped it. In fact, he barely, in the barest of bare ways, scraped by a win against Edwin De Los Santos. Now they're trying to make excuses. Well, Shakur's hand and okay. When Tank fought Pitbull Cruz, and don't tell me Pitbull Cruz is not a difficult fighter. You want to talk about Edwin De Los Santos as if Edwin De Los Santos is better than Pitbull Cruz. No, Pitbull Cruz proven. He proved that he is a better fighter than Edwin De Los Santos at this point in time. Let's be real. Boxing is about what you do. Don't tell me about the look and the eye test. It's what you do. Pitbull Cruz, not a world champion. He's not a world champion. But he faced world champions. Hold on a second. Let me get that. I'm going to show you why Pitbull Cruz is better than Edwin De Los Santos. I'm not saying he's a better boxer, but I'm saying he's better. And I'll explain to you what I mean. Because the boxing's a doing sport. I keep on telling you guys that. Isaac Cruz. In English, it's Isaac Cruz, right? Okay. Isaac Cruz has had 34 fights. 34 fights. He's had 27 wins. I'm saying right? Nah, I'm looking at something else. Sorry, my bad. Isaac Cruz has had 25 fights. Okay? 2 losses and 1 draw. He beat Yuriorkis Gamboa. He lost to Gervonta Davis. He beat Francisco Vargas, who was a super featherweight world champion. Moved up to lightweight. Long reigning. All right. Now, I say this to say that the names that he beat are significant names. When you look at De Los Santos, he's beaten nobody of significance. No one. People talk about Ryu, but Ryu, he's on a come up. He's a prospect just like De Los Santos. So he has beaten no one. No former world champions, none of that. So he jumped from, it was a big step up for him. He jumped from, facing absolutely nobody to facing one of the best fighters in the world right now. And he performed at a level which, that's why I'm surprised. It's kind of like, well, this one's more exaggerated, but it was like Francis Ngannou taking on Tyson Fury and performing very well. And, he didn't dropping Fury and all that. It wasn't as extreme as that, but that's what I'm saying. Okay? So when you talk about Edwin De Los Santos, he couldn't close the distance and people trying to critique. They're doing like Edwin De Los Santos was a world champion multiple times or something. No, the guy doesn't have that experience yet. So he's going to work on that. There's things he has to work on. His inside game. He has to work on how to close the distance and pressure a guy. He has to work on roughing up the guy. He has to work on those things. Okay? Shakur has a better inside game because he worked on it. He had a lot of experience. He had some different fights. He had different fighters. So that's why Shakur, even though he didn't perform like he's supposed to perform against Edwin De Los Santos, he got by and he won because of experience. Okay? Now, when you tell me Shakur should face Gervonta Davis next, Timothy Bradley, you're telling me something that just makes no sense to me. First of all, he's scraped by Edwin De Los Santos, okay, by the barest of margins, because really, honestly, that could have gone either way. And if you favored Edwin De Los Santos, the judges favored Edwin De Los Santos because he was pushing the action the whole fight. So if they favored the aggressor, that fight goes to Edwin De Los Santos very easily, all right? But it wasn't just about aggression. It had to be effective aggression. And the only way that fight would have gone Edwin De Los Santos' way was if Shakur wasn't moving and landing something on Edwin, but he was landing sometimes his jab, especially later on in the fight. He was landing his jab, and Edwin wasn't really landing nothing, right? But there are many rounds where nothing really significant both guys were doing. So the aggressor gets it. Okay? All right. In terms of punches landed, that is. Okay. It was high-speed chess, though. So you have to admire it. I really enjoyed it. But my point being, he just had difficulty with Edwin. Yeah, he'll get better. But who's looking forward to Shakur versus Tank like that? I mean, if you drop it, yeah, people will be interested. But it won't make as much money as if Shakur, separated himself from Edwin and showed that a guy who's a contender is not on his level. But what really came out in this fight is that a contender is on the same level as him. That's what a contender without 12-round experience. We're not even talking championship experience yet. This guy only has 10-round experience. And he performed that well against Shakur. So why would you make the fight after that? No, you don't make the fight after that. That doesn't make no sense, Timothy Bragg. It just doesn't. All right? And Tank has a lot of championship experience. A lot, way more than Shakur. Let me say something else. Tank faced Mario Barrios. Mario Barrios was outboxing him, right? So people say, right? Mario Barrios is much longer. He's not as quick. You can't say Tank didn't face that level of opposition. It's just not true. They may not be better than Edwin De Los Santos skill-wise or even IQ-wise, but experience-wise, you have to look at that as well. You see? And that's the problem. Edwin De Los Santos hadn't done a 12-rounder. This was his first 12-rounder. Mario Barrios has had multiple 12-rounders, defended his title multiple times. I'm not saying he was an authentic world champion. He was a fake world champion, but the point is he was defending it. He knew what it was to be a champion. He had been in that role. Not the real champion, but I'm just saying. Leo Santa Cruz multiple times. Had wars, had tough competition. You see, you have to look at all variables. You can't just look at skill and eye tests. We're not even denying that De Los Santos has more skills than Shakur. We saw it. We saw the things he was doing in there. Okay? He's not as honed as Shakur, but he has more skills than Shakur. He has a lot of potential. How he takes that and goes with it will determine what. And he has now Shakur Stevenson on his resume. So that's a great plus. And he did very well against Shakur Stevenson. Yes, he couldn't close the distance because he was, it's not that he was hesitant to engage, and he wasn't that he was afraid of Shakur's power, but being a boxer, he wanted to box Shakur. He didn't use the high guard at any point to walk to him. Right? He didn't do that. But that's a lack of experience. Lack of experience. He was trying to come in and attack Shakur, but Shakur had gauged that distance. But had he really figured out how to cut off the ring like Canelo did to Jermell Charlo, it's again experience. He didn't have that experience. He had to worry about two things. His tank, how he never gone 12 rounds. And two, he had to worry about how do I cut this guy off? How do I stop him from moving around the ring like that? He didn't know how to cut the ring up into sectors. Sometimes he was following Shakur, but sometimes he allowed Shakur to go back to the center of the ring. He didn't know how to pressure Shakur properly. Right? And that's just lack of experience. He'll learn how to do that. That'll add to his game. Right? So it was an inexperienced guy going up against a very experienced guy, but the inexperienced guy is matching the skill of the experienced guy. That's not supposed to happen. So Tyson Fury was not supposed to have to beat Francis Ngannou by the skin of his teeth. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. Okay, Tank faced also Jose Pedraza. Jose Pedraza, again, very experienced guy. Not at the time Tank faced him though, but now a very experienced guy. Not at the time, but Jose Pedraza could switch. He could switch from orthodox to southpaw. Also, Jose Pedraza also performed very well against Vasily Lomachenko, showing you that Jose Pedraza was a quality fighter, became multiple world champions, you know? So all of these things you have to consider. Experience plays a huge factor in boxing. Experience plays a huge factor in boxing. Okay? So I'm not saying because you've been there, you've handled certain situations. You know what to do. You see what I'm saying? And there, De Los Santos was green. So people are trying to go down to De Los Santos. Oh, De Los Santos should have done this, and he wasn't doing nothing, and he did less than Shakur. And they call a whole set of statistics. No, he's inexperienced. He's learning as he's doing it. He's learning how to close the distance. He's learning how to certain things. You know, he was comfortable using the style doing certain things, but he didn't cover all the bases yet. Right? Shakur was a superior inside fighter. I heard one guy say something really stupid. He said Shakur is like a Mark Breland. And I'm like, what does that mean? You know? And he said, y'all need to go look up Mark Breland. I'm saying, what does that mean, though? Mark Breland was a distance fighter, like Deontay Wilder. Wilder can fight a little bit on the inside, but he is a distance fighter. Shakur can fight at length. He can fight in the pocket. He can fight at mid-range. Shakur is smart. He understands range. So if he realizes you thrive at mid-range, Shakur is not going to give you mid-range. He'll be way on the outside, or he'll be deep in the pocket working you. Okay? Shakur's a smart fighter. But he has the experience, and he's been developed and brought along. Edwin De Los Santos is still raw, meaning he's smart, but he still don't have all the tools to exploit. Like deep in the pocket, he don't know what to do. He lock up Shakur, that's it. He'll lock him up. He's smart to know that. But he don't work on the inside because Shakur could work on the inside. Now, Tank is not that. Tank can work on the inside. Tank has veteran moves on the inside to tie you up and to bump you off and all kinds of things Tank has. He has little veteran tricks. I saw Kenny teaching him certain veteran tricks, a lot of veteran tricks. Okay, he's very clever. All right, so Tank is not the same as Edwin De Los Santos by miles. He's not the same. Okay, he's just not the same. Think of Deontay Wilder with all the savvy, IQ, and skill of a Floyd Mayweather. That's Tank. Even though he has, and he's very explosive. I mean, not talking about Floyd Mayweather money. No, we talking about Pretty Boy Floyd. Okay, more aggressive. That's what you're looking at when you see Tank. Okay. Don't get it twisted. He's compact, he's small, but he's just like Pacquiao. He can close that distance, he can close that range, but he's more measured. He's going to take his time and break your ass down because he's going to come for your body. He takes out your body first before he stops you. All right? And Shakur and Tank can take a punch too. So when Shakur tries to light up Tank, you know, he ain't going to just come in there, but he's looking for that entry point. Tank's looking for that angle entry point. Okay? Shakur's not ready for Tank. I'm telling you right now, he's not ready for him. I don't care if he sparred him on all of that. In 8-ounce gloves, he ain't ready for Tank. I'm just going to let y'all know that right now. Okay? He's not ready for him. Is he ready for Devin Haney? No. No, he doesn't have the experience. He would be like Edwin De Los Santos against Devin Haney. He get beat. Okay? Experience, the deciding factor here, because everybody, Shakur, Tank, and Devin, they have around about the same skill level. They can do different things. They're really good at different things, but don't get it twisted. They all know how to deal with range. They understand it. They know what they need to do to a boxer like Shakur. They know they have to rough him up. They know they have to get nasty on the inside. They know they have to beat him down. They understand what they have to do, okay? And Tank has so much nuance to him. Okay, don't get it twisted. See, I'm not trying to discredit Shakur. Shakur's still on the come up. He's still developing as a fighter. And he just like David Benavidez, he may develop into the best fighter of all generations. Nobody's doubting that. I'm not saying that. You know, he was talking a lot of shit, you know, but he really should have focused on just, I know he's in the boxing, he's focused and everything, but he needed to focus. Right? We know he wasn't comfortable with Edwin De Los Santos' power, but guess what? Nobody's comfortable with a power puncher like that. If they hit you like that, you're like, shit. You work the shoulder and shit, and you like, if needs be, I'm gonna walk to you. But at this present point in time, I ain't trying to get hit with that. Okay? That's normal. That's not unless you're Brandon Rios. Okay, that's normal. So what Shakur did in the ring ain't nothing that bothers me. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the same thing that Jamel Charlo did with Canelo. You got to throw some offense. Get in there. Check the range. You know on the inside. If you know. Okay, so here's the thing. Jamel, he got gun shy because Canelo's power, right? But if you know Canelo cannot handle you when you are far out there, you're boxing from range. When you get tight into the pocket, you check his strength. Okay? If you think you could put in a little bit of work and get some angles and bump him this way and bump him that on the inside because it's about footwork and pivoting, you work him on the inside. Right? So Jamel should have been working Canelo on the outside, and then you go in the inside to see how strong he is on the inside, and you work him deep in the pocket. That's what he's supposed to do. But that's easier said than done. Once you feel that power on your shoulders, or you feel that power on your body, or he gets a punch in on your head, now you have to decide if you're going to grit it and you're going to execute the game plan or not. Shakur is young. His reaction would be probably to separate, but sometimes you need to stay in the pocket. Sometimes you need to lock him up in the pocket and test his strength. See how strong he really is. See, all of these things, these nuances in boxing, veteran fighters who have had a lot of fights understand. You can tell Shakur still needs some development there. Am I being constructive or am I being destructive? Am I insulting Shakur? Hell no. Hell no. But boxing has nuance. Right? Shakur next time will know how to break the clinch when a guy like what's his name? De Los Santos, Edwin, when Edwin came in, he locked up Shakur a certain way. Next time, it's how you angle your body, you can break that clinch. That Marcus Maidana never let nobody lock him up. Because these arms, you can open them up like this and break that clinch. And go down, rotate, bump him with the shoulder and work it. Bump him off. Okay? But it's a technique. It's a something that has to come natural to you. Right? So all I'm saying is veteran moves and veteran ways of doing things in boxing, you see, you learn with every fight. Oh, I need to add this to my game. Maybe I need to watch Tank a little bit, or maybe I need to watch Sugar Ray Robinson a little bit. Maybe I need to take in a little bit of what's his name, Archie Moore a little bit. Maybe I need to watch a little bit, or maybe I need to just work on my technique about how to break the clinch. I need to figure out how to break this clinch. Sean Porter and his father, Kenny Porter, he could always talk to Sean. Sean knew how to break a clinch. You know, talk to Terrence. Terrence is a wrestler. How to break the clinch. How to get out of a clinch. You know, so when a guy try to lock you up, you still could get some work in. You know, Shakur got a lot of potential. He's really, really good. When I tell you he's a phenomenon, he's a phenomenon. You see what I'm saying? So he is a phenom. One of the things that controls everything is range, you know, and he's really good at that. But you have to understand, you can't, to make a fight more of a fight, you have to work in the range that he can work with. So you got to work deep in the pocket, or you can work outside. You got to work on your inside game. Andre Ward, Shakur, Andre Ward, that's your boy right there. You know, how you could dominate on the inside and control how a guy clinches you. Andre Ward, you got that guy right there, lining it up. So you know what to do with Edwin, because Edwin's weak spot was on the inside. You should have taken that fight right inside there and wear him down on the inside. That's where you would have separated yourself from him. Instead of making all that movement and moving around the ring, because his power ain't on the inside. I don't think he has so much power when he's shorting up his shots like that. It looks like when he's extending or he's coming on the outside with his quickness, it works. But if you was feeling it on the inside, where you got to grit them teeth, angle your body a certain way and beat the fuck out of him. You know what I'm saying? Sorry about the F-bomb. You know, because Shakur, this is a nice learning experience for him. Whether he was injured or not, I don't care about excuses, you know. Whether he's injured or not, you know, You do what you got to do to get through, and you have to separate yourself. Tank and Isaac Cruz was a good fight because Tank had to separate himself. And yeah, we use the excuse, oh, he had his arm broke out in the fight. No, no, a win is a win. You got to make sure that win count. You know what I'm saying? And you saw how much skill Gervonta Tank Davis had with his right hand. We're doing all kind of things with that dude, with his right hand. So it didn't matter. Gary Russell Jr. versus the Filipino kid, one hand. So it can be done. And if you got your jab in hand, use it. You know what I'm saying? So I used to make excuses for fighters. We don't make no excuse. You can get a W by all means necessary. You get that W. That's what it is. And he got the W. That's what mattered. He landed that 1-2 piece in the 12th round. That's what counted. That's what got him over the hill. Like I said before, I really truly mean that. So he got the win over Edwin De Los Santos. Now Edwin De Los Santos might feel, man, I feel robbed in the sense that that fight could have gone to me, or I could have gotten the draw. Well, he would be thinking win. But honestly speaking, it was a great learning experience for him. He took the challenge. He wanted the challenge. That's what fighters do. So I applaud him for he didn't duck and dodge like the others. He stepped to it. You know what I'm saying? He stepped to it. And you got to applaud him for it. And we need to encourage these fighters forward. And we need to be fans of these fighters. All right? Shakur Stevenson, hell of a fighter. I don't care what nobody said. Yeah, his performance wasn't the best. But it was a hell of a performance because to keep that range, to keep the guy off balance, every time he comes in or he tries to come in, you aptly know how to move away from him because De Los Santos is quick. I mean, he's quicker than Shakur. So Shakur had to make sure he had a good enough distance. Other people think Shakur was just moving away for the power's sake. No, Edwin's fast. And you saw him, he threw a double jab in like that. Right? He's quick. He has that quick first step. So Shakur had to find that distance, otherwise he was going to get hit. Even when he was pulling back, he got hit. Because Edwin's quick. He's very quick, and he's very skilled. So that's what a lot of people not realizing about this fight and why Shakur had to do what he do. He might have had plans to do something else, but Edwin's just that fast, and you have to really watch him really carefully, So, you think about Pacquiao. Pacquiao's fast too, blindingly fast. You saw Keith Thurman didn't estimate Pacquiao properly. He was on his back. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that. Boom. That's Edwin. So that's what a lot of people are missing. But that doesn't mean that because Edwin had those abilities, that would get him over the edge. Shakur showed you that he made an adjustment to that. And even though he didn't make a whole bunch of adjustments during the fight, he just made up to a certain point, certain adjustments. He was able to make it through, and he eked out a win. You know what I mean? Say what you want. He got the W, and that's what mattered. Now, what Timothy Bradley said, though, I don't agree with. And also, I've heard a lot of other people, again, trying to pump up Shakur and make him into this image. You see, it's the hype around Shakur that's the problem. ESPN does this a lot, Bob Arum, with his fighters. You hype up Lomachenko too much. You hype up now Shakur Stevenson too much. So everybody felt like Shakur Stevenson was the number one fighter. That's the guy that beats everybody at lightweight, even beats Devin Haney. So everybody was saying that when Shakur ain't done a lick at lightweight. He ain't done shit at lightweight. Right? And I told y'all, you can't rank people at lightweight and they ain't done nothing. Now he goes up against Edwin De Los Santos, has a difficult time. And all of a sudden, he ain't shit. Tank will beat him. Devin will trash him. This guy will beat him. He's like Mark Breland. No, it's just that y'all overestimated him. The image of him was bigger than it really was supposed to be. All right, he's still learning. He's still growing as a fighter, all of them. Right? And what Shakur was trying to do, which he's right to do, is in his mind, assert his confidence on things. Because everybody's telling him he's the best out of all the lot and all of this stuff, and Top Rank bigging him up like that. But you can't buy into your hype. You have to stay humble, Shakur. Whether you're doing things just for publicity, just run your mouth and say publicity is cool. But you mustn't personally believe the hype. You got to get that hype out. You got to be critical about yourself and take yourself to the next level. You can't buy into the hype. That's what happened with Gennady Golovkin as well. He bought into the hype. You know what I mean? He's a good fighter, but wasn't that great. When the top competition, when he started going up to the other levels, he looked ordinary. You know? And Shakur, you got to watch yourself when you're moving back. Don't just move straight back. A guy will catch you with a leaping left hook. It will catch you and it will drop you with a leaping left hook. You gotta always cut an angle. Escape for that reason. Right. So that's what I gotta say. But much love to Shakur Stevenson. Much love to everybody else. And you know, I always say that it's good to see. It's good to see these young black boxers doing well. It's also good to see other boxers doing well, right? Robert Conceição boxed his ass off to get a draw, which was amazing. Amazing. You know, he got dropped, I think, twice, and he still pulled off a draw. Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah. But you see that dude? What's his name? That 130-pounder dude? He crazy, man. He crazy. He's something else. That Mexican fighter? Oh, yo, he's something else. I ain't gonna lie. He's real awkward and unorthodox. But he can box too a little bit. Yeah, but he's something else, you know. So that's what I got for y'all. I'm what you need. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for the love. I see some of y'all smash the like button. Don't forget you can also donate via PayPal. The link is in the chat. It will disappear. I guess I'll have to put it in the the comment section after too. Right? I am running a business, so you know, it'll be nice. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.